For a band that's been around for 45 years now, it's safe to say that Iron Maiden has done alright for themselves. In fact, you could go further than that and say they stand astride the metal world like a colossus, raining down riffs and bass lines, drums and acrobatic vocals as if they were handed down to Steve Harris and the boys by the gods themselves. But that all sounds a tad dramatic for my liking, and I prefer to think of it in simpler terms. Iron Maiden make quality music you can bang your head to. Unlike other bands, however, Iron Maiden has never featured front and centre on any of their 16 studio album covers, allowing that prized possession to go to their long-term mascot, Eddie. The brainchild of artist Derek Riggs, Eddie was initially created as an idea for a punk record and was based on a photo from the Vietnam War where a Viet Cong tank allegedly had the decapitated head of an American GI adorning it, though Riggs has stated that he's always been convinced that this picture was a fake, designed by the US government to drum up sympathy for the war effort. Either way, the band liked what they saw, and after adding some long hair to fit in with their ethic, Edward T. Head would appear on the cover of their first album and stay there for the duration of Iron Maiden's career to date. He is iconic and instantly recognisable, and when you see his face, no matter what it's on, you know exactly which band you're dealing with. So in honour of his long service, today I'm going to take a look at every cover that he's graced and rank them from worst to best. This in no way reflects the music on these records, that's another video for another time, but focus solely on the main man, zombie, whatever the hell he is himself. Eddie's first appearance in the Maiden pantheon is easily the worst. Looking how I imagine Paris Hilton will look in about 15 years' time, it's plain to see that he's not quite the beloved merchandising dream that he would eventually become. He still has that punk element about him, even if he has a mullet that Michael Bolton would have been proud of, and he just seems to be hanging out on a street corner not quite sure what to do with himself. As no one had ever seen anything like him before, it was quite a shock to the system, but with the passage of time, he's about as scary as a Bela Lugosi movie. There isn't anything fundamentally wrong with this cover, it's just bloody boring. It's a decent enough effort, portraying an Aboriginal Eddie on a black background, it just could have done with something else going on. Normally Maiden covers have quite a bit happening, but for this release they decided to go with a stripped down version and it just doesn't do anything for me. If you've ever played the Resident Evil Kitchen demo, you'll know what I mean when I say that I don't trust virtual reality one little bit. And if you haven't played it, then I highly recommend you do, as I don't see why I should be the only one to suffer nightmares for 6 months. But the thought of meeting Eddie in cyberspace is more than enough to tempt me back in. That is, unless he looked like this. There's something off about Maiden's mascot here, and I'm not just talking about the tortured souls that are trying to escape him, he just looks weird. This might seem like a strange thing to say, as he's not what you call normal looking to start with, but this version of Eddie looks like it was drawn on the back of a math book by some Maiden superfan instead of a professional artist. This looks like it was knocked together in about 5 minutes by the same people who did that horrific dancing baby from Ally McBeal. What? I'm current, I'm hip, I'm happening, I still make jokes about TV shows from the early 2000s, leave me alone! When this album was first released back in 1988, I had no idea what was going on, and 32 years later, I still don't have a clue what Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is all about. To be honest, the only reason that this isn't lower on the list is that it kind of reminds me of a prog rock album cover, and I've always had a soft spot for that sort of rubbish. If anyone can clue me in on what this is meant to represent, please feel free to let me know down in the comments section. A Predator Eddie torturing Dead Space reject seems to be the best way to sum this up. Great movie, great game, meh, so-so cover. This was the first Iron Maiden cover that wasn't designed by Derek Riggs, with the band deciding to let other artists interpret Eddie to give him a more updated look, and sadly it shows. This isn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, with Eddie looking like a demonic wood elf oozing out of his tree as the moon glimmers in the background. It's just that it was such a sharp change in style that a fair few fans were turned off by it, myself included. Personally, I feel that anyone who goes on the X Factor should be made to suffer the same fate as Eddie does here. That'd learn him. The cover itself is pretty damn gruesome, and through everything that's happening to him, you get the sense he's still, somehow, alive. Eddie breaking free of a crypt with the look of evil upon his face and the obvious taste for destruction in his little black heart? Yeah, that'd make your evening stroll through the graveyard of Tad Brown Pants. A lot of people would say that the idea of lobotomizing Eddie and chaining him up in a padded cell isn't the worst one you could have. But just look at how pissed off he is. Would you want that coming after you when he inevitably escapes? No, me neither. Eddie the Bounty Hunter stands over the corpse of his quarry with his smoking gun in his hand in an album cover inspired by Cyberpunk 2000 AD and Blade Runner. It's class in a glass, or in this case an album cover. The Egyptian motif is one that rock bands have used throughout the decades, but Maiden took it to a whole new level on Power Slave. Portraying Eddie as a god in an epically sprawling picture, not only would it go on to be one of the band's most beloved pieces, but it would also inspire what could rightly be seen as one of the greatest live shows ever to tour. With Eddie as an ethereal cloud looming over London, Brave New World is one of the most menacing album covers that you're ever likely to see. It just feels so claustrophobic, almost as if he's about to lay the Age of Ed smack down on the city below, turning everyone into deranged monsters roaming the streets in a never-ending search for Les Pauls and Marshall stacks to plug into. This is Eddie leading the Company of the Dead in a twisted version of Kelly's Heroes, and that's just dandy by me. In fact, I like this cover so much, I've been trying to figure out a way to get my partner to let me have it painted on our living room wall. Unfortunately, at the time of recording, I have yet to achieve this. Where the previous year's Iron Maiden introduced us to Eddie, 1981's Killers was the jumping off point for how he'd look for the next 4 decades. It's such an iconic moment. A grinning maniac, a blooded hatchet, a victim clawing at his t-shirt. This was a mascot that would become better known than the musicians in the band, which was how they wanted it. Let Eddie do the promotion, let the boys work on the music. It was a marriage made in heaven. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest heavy metal album cover of all time. With the gates of hell open, the devil dances a marionette Eddie on his fingertips, only for the real McCoy to be stood behind old Nick, making him dance to his own tune. It's the end of the world, with the storm swirling in the sky and millions of tortured souls burning in the fires below. And if you don't have this t-shirt in your collection, I don't think you can call yourself a true metalhead. Also, if you've bought this from Next or Hot Topic, you probably don't have a clue who Iron Maiden are, and you only bought it because it looks cool. And I hate you and everything you stand for.